Greetings, everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
you know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? It's week 7 NFL fantasy football recap with Chris Meaney. As always, if you want to follow Chris at Chris Meaney, if you're not part of FTN, it's code ALLIN. You get 20% off. And if you're not part of The Athletic, theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals. And if you head over there, you get first free month. Real quick, welcome again to Canada, or the Canadians, or however you want to put it, on Game Plus Network. I'm only real quicking this because on the YouTube channel, and if Game Plus, I just don't want to take up time on live TV, but at the YouTube channel, if you go to the end of the video, I'll explain like a little bit what's been going on in my life as I try to get through everything. I'm doing okay. It's still 3 ducks on the worry scale or whatever. But I'll get through it. We've all been there. But I don't want to, I didn't want to take up too much time on TV if people want to go to the YouTube channel or if you want to stick around at the end of the show. If not, anyway, we're talking week 7. That's what we're here to talk about. I think the biggest takeaway, Chris, is just survive in advance, because I saw a lot of people with lineups out there between injuries and bye weeks when they're starting people like CJ Uzma and getting wonderfully, saved by him. But on the flip side, somebody like Rondell Moore, and it's just when you're in a situation like this, it's kind of looking back, because we only have 2 teams coming up on this bye, but we are going to have some 4-team buys. Is there ever a situation where you won't drop somebody has value, even if it's for, like, I'll give you an example. Would you have held on to Tony Pollard rather than picking up and starting Rondell Moore just because you're like, you know what, I'm going to need luck anyway, and I'd rather keep the value chip, severely more value the rest of the season, than to drop him and risk just trying to chase one win?
First of all, all of my thoughts and prayers to you. I don't like to see you sad, so all the best to you. Hopefully things turn around. I'll just say that right away. I mean, you can address what you need to address towards the end of the show, but I just wanted to say that. My partner in crime here on Mondays, and I'll be with you tomorrow as well. But
Tuesday.
It's a weird week, right? With 6 teams on bye. I saw a lot of decent players like Tony Pollard get dropped. In my fantasy league, it was peak trade season, I guess, when you're talking with your buy lows and sell highs over at The Athletic. I'm sure you talked about that in your article. Like, this is a time to take advantage of your league mates if they need a win, and just pick on people near the bottom of the division. I saw some trades, and I'm sure like a CeeDee Lamb was flipped in one of my leagues, and it seemed like an unfair trade. But listen, a guy at the top was able to take advantage of a guy near the bottom, desperate for a win. I kept running. I always tend to try to keep running back depth, as opposed to just getting a wide receiver like a Rondell Moore, and you just hope that he finds the end zone and he can not give you a 0. So I have Tony Pollard in some spots where I need him, and even though he is only touching the ball here and there, he could be a top 10 running back at any moment if something does happen to Zeke, or as we get into now week 8 and just really the stretch run here is maybe a flex guy for me. So I have some really bad football teams, fantasy teams. There's no question about that. But luckily I didn't have to make any drops like that. But I saw some weird moves this week. I don't know if you saw any of that, but I saw some dudes that were flipped and it seemed like unfair trades. I saw one trade. It was a massive one, Jake, in one of my leagues. It was Terry McLaurin and Kyler for like an Aaron Rodgers, a JD McKissick, and somebody else. But the guy needed to start JD, and he only gave him like 7 fantasy points, but he needed to start JD McKissick. I think it was, I think Keenan Allen may be involved in that deal as well. Just like, I can't play this guy this week. I need to play a couple, fillers. And it's kind of what happens, man. It was a weird week. I mean, 6 teams on bye is absolutely hell.
It was. And actually, breaking news while we're doing this, Zach Wilson's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. So kind of twofold. We might as well talk about that game real quick, because from the Jets side of things, they looked a little bit better without Zach Wilson, interestingly. But it's not, we know Corey Davis. We know Jamison Crowder. The big takeaway from here is this backfield again. Tevin Coleman, not involved, obviously. But Carter was still looking good. But Ty Johnson was getting a lot of work in the passing game. We've been wanting the Carter thing to happen, especially us. I know a lot of people out there, and it was starting to, and it was increasing before their bye. But they come out of the bye, and it's essentially the Denver backfield, which, hey, Marco Carter and Javonte Williams, same college and same college and high school, same college they played for, and same situations they're dealing with in the NFL. Is this the Denver Broncos? Like, as much as we see the upside of Michael Carter, is it possibly more pronounced in the fact that Ty Johnson was getting as much passing work as he was getting?
Yeah, I think it's definitely split, but I think if you're a Carter owner and you and I have been in the Carter camp as like a buy low and maybe he can continue to trend up, I think this may be good for him. But even if he is going to split time, it just seemed like Mike White, all he wanted to do was check down to these running backs. Yes, they're playing from behind, but that's going to be the case. They're going to be playing from behind quite a bit. Now, that was his first taste of the NFL, right? I mean, so he hadn't really got in there, and you're right. The offense did seem to flow a little bit. They used Elijah Moore on a end around, which he, had a touchdown.
Took away a touchdown from them.
Yeah, took away a touchdown from those guys, which is
for everybody. I meant the fact that I actually know Michael Carter was involved a ton in the passing. I just meant the fact that Ty Johnson's role seemed to be primarily the passing, because I think he only had like 4 or 5 carries the entire game.
There was a play in the red zone where it was a lot of Carter. They got down there, I think, on a PI. And then they went to Ty twice in a row. So it felt like to me that he was the goal line back. That's the way that they felt like he was.
They've been using him before, yeah.
Yeah, and then he got stuffed twice, and I think there was maybe a hold, and they were pushed back to I think maybe the 10 or 12, and then they put Carter in there on a third down roll. They didn't throw him the ball, but he was down there. So I think Ty is probably the goal line back, but man, both of these guys may just, it could be a situation where they just get 6 or 7 targets each, and they kind of rotate, like you said, off the top. It's like a Denver situation. You get this series and you get that series.
It's kind of how it's been rolling. And on the Patriots side, speaking of rolling, they rolled through that easily. Damian Harris, the entire backfield. You're not interested in Brandon Bolden and J.J. Taylor after this, right? I mean, we're talking about 54 points put up on the board. Or though maybe slight Brandon Bolden intrigue because
slight.
Yeah, maybe
slight. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty thin for the waiver wires, like running back situation.
Ty Johnson or Brandon Bolden?
I think Ty Johnson. I think I'd go with Ty there. But yeah, I think, what the surprising with Bolden is there was a drive towards the end of maybe it was just because it was a 2-minute drill. I don't remember correctly, but there was a drive towards the end of the first half where it was all Bolden. He was catching balls, right? And it wasn't really Damian. And then they brought on Damian when they were on the 1, but they didn't use him. I think they threw to Hunter Henry on that play, but Bolden's been involved. And I was surprised. Were you surprised to see Ramondre Stevenson inactive? I thought that he would just, considering the usage last week, I thought he'd be on the field a bit, or at least active.
He moved out of the waiver column from next man up to just go grab him because he might be used in what we thought was going to be the Brandon Bolden role, but they were using Stevenson in the passing game, and then, game day inactive. But this is something we've talked about before, and that's why I agree with you in the Ty Johnson over Brandon Bolden, because I don't think we can even trust Bolden next week, and the fact that to go back to what I was telling people about when, I had that show with D'Angelo Williams, not to be like, I had a show with D'Angelo Williams, but he said, sometimes in practice on a Wednesday or a Thursday, somebody can miss an assignment. And if you're not the clear starter, Sunday rolls around and you miss a series, you lose your job, you get game day inactive or whatever it is. He's like, you just did something wrong in practice during the week. And Stevenson's a rookie. And maybe something happened, and all of a sudden we're going to turn around next week in week 8, and it's going to be Stevenson back in the second role. And so that's why I was with you on the Ty Johnson thing. So real quick, Patriots wide receivers, nothing to take away. I mean, this is just what it is, the randomness of all of it.
Yeah, they're really trying to find a way to get Jacoby Myers a touchdown. Like, the guy's never scored a touchdown. They had the spotlight on his family. Man, they were like did you see his entire family? I want him to score a touchdown so bad yesterday. It almost felt like
they wanted care. I don't think they cared. I think the TV crew cared, but I mean, they had Kendrick Bourne throw one, and then I don't think they cared.
They threw one to him in the red zone. There was a PI on it. Like, they gave him one shot
rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, fair. Maybe they don't care. Why should they care?
What about Hunter Henry, especially if Jono's out? Is he
4 or 5 straight games now? Touchdown?
I was going to say, this is where I was going to put it. With him being out, is he the new Dawson Knox?
Yeah, he might be.
Dawson Knox is out.
This is a revenge spot this week too, right? Let me play a little fun narrative. We play the Chargers, but I mean, he's got a touchdown. Yeah, not great, but Goff's not good. So,
I was surprised he actually shook hands with McVay at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, come on, they can't not shake hands. If they didn't shake hands, I would think that there was a lot of bad blood. I'm sure McVay's like, I'm so glad that you're not my quarterback anymore. But
that's what I'm
they
saying.
had some decent times.
Goff is probably conflicted. He's probably on the one side like, thank you for getting me $100 million. On the other side, he's probably like, you're a jerk for getting rid of me, like wanting to get rid of me so much.
It's true. Sean McVay made that guy a lot of money, right? A lot of money. Now Cleveland's going to be in the same situation. Do they want to pay Baker Mayfield, right? That's a different topic for another day. But I think of Baker when I hear the money floating around, like what he wants is like kind of Goff-like, and he's going to turn out to be, I don't know,
That's
like maybe a Goff with all that money. Yeah.
Let's have some good then. So yeah, let's do it. There was a hell of a lot of good. Unfortunately, I mean, well, I guess fortunately and unfortunately, like it took towards the end of the game for most of the good to come from the Dolphin side of it. But hey, Kyle Pitts, this is like, if you were patient, you listened to us. We said hold is the scene from Braveheart. Hold, said it over and over again, just hold, and it happened before the bye, and it happened once again after the bye. I don't think you were expecting this kind of question for you, Chris, but let me put it this way. If they were playing wide receiver, tight end, let's say flex position, is Kyle Pitts better than Calvin Ridley the rest of the way?
Yeah, he might be. I mean,
without the touchdown.
There seems a real nice connection with Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts now. They seem to be on the exact same page. It took a couple games, as of course, a rookie tight end, right? And, using him around all over the field. And it took a little bit of time, but yeah, you're right. Calvin Ridley, I mean, he scored a touchdown yesterday to save your day, but Kyle Pitts now is back-to-back 100-yard games, 16 grabs over his last 2, 18 targets. He has at least 8 targets in now 4 of his 6 games this season. Absolutely, man. Kyle Pitts, we talked about holding and buying, so if he did, good.
Yeah, this is kind of an indictment on Ridley, and that's really what I wanted to get at. Do you sell him after the game? Because if you could get even fringe, because I don't think anybody's giving you top 5. Look, I had him top 5, 6, or 7 before the season. I don't think anybody didn't. We were expecting 150 targets, and that's when you get any wide receiver. But the biggest thing, and going back, and this is maybe somebody like hey, why weren't you bringing this up in the offseason? But pointing out, I think it was Rudy Gamble, I think it was him, but anyway, it was pointing out the fact that he's never been huge after the target, and after the reception, I should say, and the fact that his ADOT is starting to decrease a little bit with the attention he's getting. So when you don't have that yards after the catch and the ADOT drops, it's like Calvin Ridley's almost the simple math version of a wide receiver, and showing what ADOT can do to you is like, if you just caught it and done, stat. So if you could get low end wide receiver 1 value, and I mean, I'm talking low end, like Keenan Allen's a fringe wide receiver 1 at this point. Amari Cooper might have fallen out of it. And I'm just putting I think is he not now in those names where they're like just outside the wide receiver 1, or do you still have more hope than that?
No, I think he is just outside the 1. You got to adjust. I thought he could potentially lead the league in receiving yards. He's at 281. I know he missed a game, but he may not crack 1,000 here this season. Keenan Allen, I think I'd rather have Keenan Allen. Like, if you can make that swap, yeah, why not? But yeah, I probably won't rank him as a wide receiver 1 anymore. Like, just as the respect factor. I mean, he's still getting a lot of targets. I mean, he's had double-digit targets in each of his last 4 games, but he hasn't been as efficient. He only has 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts is getting a lot of work, and Cordell Patterson continues to be a thing. Like, that's one thing I think that.
Well, that's where I'm going next. Hold on. So
yeah, but that's one thing where we could say with Calvin Ridley, like, we didn't think Cordell Patterson would be a thing. He's cutting into a lot of Ridley's work.
No, nobody expected it to be like, even Ian Hartitz loves Cordell Patterson.
Loves him.
Yeah. Nobody was expecting this, and I was going to say, this is where the next question was going to go before the Falcons. I understand it's buys, and you never want to drop running backs. So obviously we're talking about 10 teamers probably. But hey, go back to my question at the beginning of the show. If you think you need a win, Mike Davis is droppable, is he not? Like, and this is coming from somebody. You can go back and you could check the tape and roll it back at me. I said these are the words I'll repeat myself. I said any running back with 250 carries, I want to be on my team as my flex running back 3. But he's not going to get 250 carries, and that's the problem. He just what do you have 2 yesterday? Or wait, he got
four
yeah,
carries?
he got a couple more late. But at any point, Mike Davis droppable? Question mark.
Again, I probably right. It all depends on your context. I think in a 10 team for sure. I think I don't know, man. Like I hate to drop running backs because if anything happened to Cordell, you'd be talking about Davis as like a guy who's getting all of the snaps and maybe touching the ball 20 times. But the fact that he played 38 of 63. Cordero plays 46. He runs 2 more routes. He has 10 more carries than him. So I don't know. And Davis didn't even have a target. So like it's you could drop him. I wouldn't hate it. You could drop him.
Drop Mike Davis or T.Y. Hilton?
I dropped T.Y. I mean, I like to keep the running back depth. It's funny. You mentioned Calvin Ridley.
I would think I would actually go for Hilton.
For T.Y.? I mean, you pick him up for free. He comes back. He's healthy. He's a nice weapon
Could just be one game.
Carson Wentz, who looks good, by the way. Carson Wentz looks good. I mean, that shovel pass or whatever it was a bit deflected.
From the chat, Mike Davis or Khalil Herbert? It's Khalil Herbert, is it not? Because I mean, Dave Montgomery might be coming back into a split at this point.
He may be.
Real quick, hold on. Let's finish this game. We'll come to Chicago real quick. We're selling Gaskin too, right? After
he had more touches yesterday than he did in like 3 or 4 weeks. I just got offered a deal before you, like on the spot, a Calvin Ridley deal. It's like almost like someone's listening to the show and watching it. Antonio Gibson for Calvin Ridley. And I'm super thin at the running back. I got like Waddle, I got Adams, I got Ridley. I'm pretty thin, but I'm actually worried about Antonio Gibson. I don't think
that's
I want.
a tough one to take.
I think I could do better.
Inside injuries keep saying that if this isn't something that gets like you can play through and like with rehab and stuff like that, this is one of those ones where the only thing to solve it is rest. And if Washington wants him to be healthy, they just need to shut him down for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's concerning to hear. Although they keep rolling him out there, they keep giving him touches. So Waddle, Gesicki, Tua, anything to take away from this game? Tua was a popular streamer, and it looked like this was going belly up until late in the game.
Yeah, he lucked out. I mean, Waddle's definitely the guy. Waddle, another game from Gesicki. Like those two. I think Will Fuller's expected back. I think Will Fuller too. Can he come back off the IR? It could get a little crowded.
That's what I'm saying. Is
you could maybe sell one of those guys, maybe both. But I really do like Waddle, man. Like he keeps like surpassing his catch prop, his receiving yard prop. But again, you're gonna maybe throw 2 more guys inside that offense. I don't know how pass happy they really are going to be, even though they're running the football with a lot of success. So maybe I'd sell.
All right, so let's get to those Bears because this is like so. Let me put it this way. Let's actually, you know what? Before I get to that question, Khalil Herbert, we just talked about it. So would you take Herbert over Davis? At this point, I'm taking Herbert over Davis. Herbert has the job. David Montgomery is still not back until after their bye. And what I was getting ready to say, Chris, is I saw some trade questions starting to ask this past week, and people are like, "Hey, I could trade for David Montgomery on the cheap," blah blah. And it was a trade, and it was a balanced trade. And then I was like, but that's a balanced trade if David Montgomery comes back and it is David Montgomery. I don't know that he's coming back to his 70% workload. And if David Montgomery's not getting 70%, then I'm not trading for him. And Khalil Herbert, I thought Damian Williams would be much more involved yesterday because of the pass blocking and the passing game, and that's how you beat the Bucs. But they trust Herbert enough that I don't want to get into the I don't want to bleed into the second question yet, but do you think that we're potentially looking at a timeshare when Montgomery comes back?
I think so, yeah. Herbert's looked pretty good. I mean, he played 40 more snaps than Damian Williams, and he had 4 more targets than him too, which is surprising. And he topped he hit the century mark against the Bucs. Like, you kidding me? He was dropped. His ownership dropped like 10% leading up to this matchup, even knowing that Damian Williams was probably, maybe like there was a point. I don't know, Jake. I didn't know that he was going to play until Friday. I'm always burying the lead.
100 yards in a 38-3 game.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. It wasn't like a milking the clock situation. This was they were destroyed. Good. Yes, they were down 35-0 at the half, or somewhere around there. I don't know, was it 31 to nothing?
Every time I looked up, Brady was either throwing a touchdown or the ball was on the ground.
35.
Chicago turned it over.
35. They only scored. What happened to the Buccaneers? They only scored 3 in the second half. They suck. What the hell?
They gave the ball to Ronald Jones in the second half. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Although Tom Brady kept trying to throw, they went for it. They went for it twice, 4th down at the goal line.
Always.
Oh my God! If you didn't hate Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, I still don't. I'm just saying. But if you didn't, that was a good reason to get you on that. So here's what I wanted to say, Chris. Now we've covered Herbert, so now you have to understand that it's everybody else. Are we dropping the rest of the Bears? That includes Damian Williams, Darnell Mooney, and Allen Robinson. Are we done? I mean, take the names off the jerseys, Chris. Are we done?
Yeah. You can't play them. You can't play these guys. Like, I'm forced in some leagues in a 16-team dynasty league. I keep rolling out Allen Robinson knowing I'm going to get 4 or 5 fantasy points. I got Cole Kmet in one dynasty league. I think it's back-to-back weeks now. He's led the team in targets, catches, and receptions. So, I mean, at least I'm getting 6.5 points from him every single week. But it's brutal, man. Like, it is awful. You definitely can't start any of these guys. Yeah, I'd move on. I'd cut him. I mean, it just seems so tough to cut Allen Robinson, but he's not doing anything, Jake. Like, he's just not doing anything. Not even getting targets. He doesn't have a game where he has 10 fantasy points this week. He doesn't have one double-digit showing yet this year. All right, crazy.
So let me go back to Mike Davis real quick then. So Mike Davis, Damian Williams, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney. You can only keep one. Who are you keeping? All right, I guess you're forced to keep one.
I'll probably keep the depth of Davis just in case something happens to Cordero.
Who would be second?
I'd probably keep Robinson.
See, I thought you might say Damian Williams, and that's what I was trying to get you to not even put Robinson inside the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty ugly. I mean, Damian Williams is not a guy that I want to hold either. I mean, what's the point, right? He just came back, and the first game he got
kind of similar,
touched and. Yeah.
Well, kind of similar to what happens if Herbert gets hurt this week before they even get back to David Montgomery. It's kind of he's one of the top backups. We just saw what Damian Williams could do before he got hit with the COVID. And I wonder if I'm not saying I wonder maybe if he wasn't 100% because some people don't come back 100%. Maybe deal with flu-like symptoms and he was out there but just didn't have all of it. So I'm not ready to write him off completely yet. I'm ready to write off a backfield. I've been writing off this backfield, and people tried to get back in on this backfield. And you know what? You got lucky if Devontae Freeman was the one that you went after.
Yeah.
But this is essentially, put it this way, is there any week you could say, I trust blank running back, and that's that back group?
Yeah, no chance. No chance. That's one of the situations I was thinking about earlier is that I had to start Freeman. I got lucky. You're right. Got lucky. It was a full-on committee with 3 dudes.
He was the third to touch the ball.
Yeah, I know. And now Latavius, all signs point to him returning. So, I mean, they're on a bye anyways. So he probably does return after the bye. Yeah, it's a bloody mess. You don't want to play anyone out of Baltimore. No chance.
Yeah, look, Alex, firsthand experience that COVID does suck first day back after 10 days off. So glad you're better. Glad you made it through. That's for sure. Wow. Yeah, sorry. Definitely to hear that. Rashad Bateman. How much of a thing is this? Because, hey, what was it, 4 for 80 yesterday? Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, so, I mean, is this a thing as long as Sammy Watkins stays sidelined, or is he entrenched now and wide receiver 4 going forward? Yeah, Bateman or T.Y. Hilton? Kind of throw that into the conversation because I'm still taking T.Y.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I think I would lean T.Y. too. It's a little bit of health, though, right? T.Y., there's always seems to be something popping up, but if you could tell me that he's going to play the rest of the season, I would go with T.Y. Obviously, you're not going to be able to tell me that with confidence because he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. I mean, he came back and played just a handful of snaps and rehurt himself. But I really like the way that this Colts team is trending offensively. They got their offensive line healthy, intact. They're playing good D. You know what? Carson Wentz playing good football, too. He needs a second option.
I know. I picked him up for my bye this week for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he needs a second option. I don't know, Mo Alley Cox is getting sprinkled in there and there, but he needs a number 2. Pittman's clearly the one. I wonder what they do when Sammy comes back because Rashad Bateman's looked pretty good now in back-to-back weeks, and Harbaugh said after the first game that he didn't think he'd play him as much, but he just looked so good. And then last week yesterday I thought he looked, even though all the targets went to Marquise, I thought he looked pretty strong.
And that's why I say sell high. Like, and look, for all intents and purposes, it's, relative to what you can get. But when I say sell high, it's just the hype from his name and the fact that he's done pretty good in 2 games. The hype hasn't died because he's been great in 2 games. Like, this is Rondale Moore's first 2 games. Like, people were going crazy for Rondale Moore because we want to see, like, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter. Like, we want the new shiny toy, but it's not just the new shiny toys. We want the new shiny talented toy. We see that they could be what they could be. And I've talked about this in depth at times with you on the show. Is like what we want is not always what happens, and what we see is what always not happens. And I say it's like I'm not saying that Bateman's going to go away. I'm just saying I've seen trades out there where people are paying up top 25, 30 wide receiver value for him, and if I can get that, I'm getting out of it. And it's mostly a lot of it because of the offense he's in.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is at the end of the day, he's at best case the number 3 option on a team that wants to run the football. Right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So on Cincinnati side, we're obviously not doing Uzma. So like good 2. Actually, I was gonna say 2 games outdoes the rest of the season. Pick a game and it outdoes the rest of the season combined.
He had 3 targets.
I know. So good luck. Hey, if you got Uzma, I think the bigger thing to hear is just start tight ends against the Ravens. I mean, they just deep in tight ends. That entire middle of the field, they're just so exploitable with the T. Higgins one. I'm not even selling high on T. Higgins because I was shocked at how many people here. That's one. People were asking me to drop T. Higgins before this week. I was like, why? Wow. I didn't understand the frustration with T. Higgins. He's top 30 wide receiver for you, is he not? Am I crazy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, not at all. And we talked last week about Joe Burrow and how efficient he's been. I mean, that was a huge test. That's a huge takeaway for me. The Bengals went into Baltimore and beat a team that they normally don't beat in Baltimore. And they not only beat them, they crushed them. They stopped them defensively. They held the run game in check. They maintained Lamar Jackson, who's kind of eating them up over the past couple of years. Jamar Chase adds another element to this offense. I would not drop T. Higgins. Dude had didn't he have 15 targets or something like that? He had a lot of targets. He wasn't super efficient with them, but whatever. And they play the Jets this week.
He was also facing Humphrey part of the game. Well, I mean, Jamar Chase showed how that worked out. Jamar Chase.
Oh, man. Spin move?
I was going to do this, but quick sidebar, because I was having this conversation with a buddy yesterday. We don't usually talk Dynasty and Keeper, and that'll be something we talk about in the offseason. But real quick, Dynasty and Keeper, Jamar Chase, how many wide receivers would you trade for him straight up? That was the conversation we were having. I was just like, Jamar Chase, I would take A.J. Brown. Although the only question I have with A.J. Brown is health, just because of the specimen that he is versus Chase, and not taking anything away from Chase, but Chase, just doesn't have that body, and very similar wide receivers. I was like, would you take Adams? I said, I think I would take Chase. And then, we take Chase over Ridley. So maybe Justin Jefferson, but the thing with Justin Jefferson, he's kind of in the similar situation of who's the quarterback in 2 years? So would you go Justin Jefferson? Point being, is Chase officially already right now top 5 Dynasty Keeper wide receiver?
Yeah, absolutely. I had this conversation with D-Bro on his podcast, Fade the Chalk, a couple weeks ago, and we had that debate, Brown and Chase, and I was on the Brown side. He was on the Chase side. This was really before he went off. I think it was week 2 or something like that.
Are you changing your stance?
I still think I'd like Brown more, slightly, but yeah, those other guys that you mentioned, Chase over Ridley, who's the quarterback of the future in Atlanta? You got Pitts there. Chase over Tyreek. Adams, what's Adams' future? Is he going to just follow Aaron Rodgers to Denver or to Las Vegas? I don't know. We could end up in a different situation. He's a little bit older now. So yeah, Chase over Diggs for me. You could Chase Jefferson, I think you could flip, but yeah, top 5 for sure. And he's a stud. He is an absolute baller. And it's just that chemistry that they have. I'm sure he'd be good not anywhere else, but I'm sure you could make a case for him being a top 10 dynasty wide receiver on a lot of teams. But you just see it, right? You just see it. Joe Burrow, his first read on third down, he just looks his way. Those guys are completely on the same page. And Nobody's talking about what the Bengals should have done or what they could have done with that 5th pick. They made the right choice, no question.
Hey, remember all that talk about that Jamar Chase wasn't the wide receiver to take inside the top 5 and all that nonsense? By the way, but having a dog definitely helps you feel a little bit better in life, especially when she's on her back and doing bicycle kicks with her legs right now.
And she probably knows you're not, you're not feeling 100%. You're not your old self. Dogs know that. They sense that. Yeah, they do. They sense that, and they're trying to make you laugh, and they're doing a good job of it.
Speaking of not being great, how about Sam Darnold got benched yesterday? Hey, how many times did I say it? Sam Darnold is the same Sam Darnold. Everybody just wants to think, hey, he got away from Gase. And it's like, yeah, but if you look at the fantasy numbers, he's better. But if you watch him play, he was still the same Sam Darnold. The reason I wanted to bring him up is not Sam Darnold and not knowing what's going on with their quarterback situation, not this Sean Watson trade rumors and all that type of stuff. But really what it comes down to is this the opportunity to buy DJ Moore, because almost hand in hand, not just Sam Darnold, but this entire offense, without CMC. I think it's similar to the Giants' Saquon Barkley. If you took, I was going to say Zeke, but Tony Pollard stepped in well. But, you take out certain running backs and what it does to the offense. And I think it's underrated how much the loss of McCaffrey just killed this team. And he's coming back soon. Well, we assume he's coming back soon. So is this your opportunity to buy low on DJ Moore, who, let's not forget, 3 weeks ago, everybody was saying he was top 5 because he was the only one outside of Cooper Kupp getting double-digit targets every single week.
Yeah, I would buy him if I could. I tried to buy him this week leading in. I tried to trade DK for him. The owner's like, no chance. I don't like Geno Smith. It's like, okay, I get it. Hoping that DK can go off tonight, and then I could try to make that trade again. Chase
versus DK, that was another one. And I was like, I would take Chase.
I would take Chase too. But I think DK is a great buy low in Dynasty leagues and in season long. Yeah,
are you buying low on Hubbard for as long as that he has the job? Because I think that's underrated.
I think you could.
Remember last year, Christian McCaffrey came back one game, and then we had Joe Mixon last year who never came back.
Well, Tino knows this. Every single week on Mean Streets on Wednesdays, we take a look at the most dropped players, and then the following week, one of those dropped players are inside the most added. We've seen it multiple times, and Chuba Hubbard was one of those guys who was dropped because it looked like CMC was going to return. We did the exact same thing last year. Remember, Jake, when everybody was riding Mike Davis and it looked like CMC was going to come back, and then people dropped Mike Davis, and then there was a setback, and Mike Davis was fine again. So yeah, it was a really bad game in a good spot. The Giants they were giving up a lot of rushing yards, but I think this is the thing with most teams now facing Sam Darnold is, let's try to get some pressure. Let's, stop the run and see if he can throw the ball down the field. And, all of a sudden he's got more picks than touchdowns. And Robbie Anderson seems to drop 5 or 6 balls. Like Robbie Anderson is a guy that's had double-digit targets now, I think, like 3 of the past 4 weeks, but he just catches 1 or 2 balls. Yeah, he's dropping passes nonstop, but the volume and the opportunity has been there. But there's no identity with this team on offense without CMC, so they're struggling to move the football. I would buy DJ. I'd try to buy Chuba if you need like a player to play this week. I mean, they got the Falcons this week. It could be a decent spot for him. I'd be hesitant to drop CMC because of these soft muscle tissue injuries. You never know with the setback, right? I think if you're up near the top, you could maybe afford to take on that risk. But
would you trade Calvin Ridley for DJ Moore?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
but I think you could also get cheaper, possibly. Just because of the name, and then Calvin Ridley just scored a touchdown. On the Giants side of things, anything taken away from the wide receivers? Darius Slayton kind of led in opportunities, but that wonderful Dante Pettis rollover touchdown, lucky there.
Finally, Pettis season. Took a while.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, are you legitimately taking anything out of this game? No Shepard, no Tony,
not really. Barkley. Yeah, like if those guys miss time, then Shepard is somebody that you can roll it there. We hit his catch prop plus money at 3.5. His yards were 41. He's taking. Yeah, sorry, Slayton. Yeah, okay. Slayton. If these guys are missing time, then Slayton.
If Tony and Shepard are both still out, I guess you could have the same response that Kyle Shanahan just said to Jimmy Garoppolo being a starting quarterback. You want to know what his response was?
On the what?
I guess so.
Hey, you didn't look good yesterday, Jimmy. I know it was raining, but hey, Carson Wentz found a way, right? Jimmy, I don't know what
was that thing called? A boom-nado or something like that? Or what was it called? Or a boom clone or something?
I don't know. Did you see the throw that he had at the end of the game? Did you see that throw at the end?
There was a lot of mistakes in the game. I'm not putting that all on Jimmy Garoppolo, but I did hit that bet on over one or a half of an interception in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, you got that one pretty easily.
We'll stick with this game real quick. Brandon Ayuk, if you had any hope for him, that's officially done. I want to ask you about the 49ers, Chris, and it's the same question we've been asking a lot this year. What's your scale level, 1 to 10? How much do you trust Elijah Mitchell? Because Hasty was active. Jeff Wilson's still a few weeks away. I mean, Jeff Wilson's still not even a guarantee to come back. But this was another situation where Elijah Mitchell was out there for almost 70%, but JaMychal Hasty got a lot of the passing game work. So
yeah, and I think that's going to continue.
So that's what, again, Elijah Mitchell 1 to 10.
6.5. I mean, he looks really good running the football. Maybe I'm underselling him a little bit. Maybe 7. I'll go 7. Like, he looks good running the football, and when he's active, he gets a majority of the work on the ground. But it's clear he's not going to be that pass catching back. We saw it a few weeks ago when they played the Eagles. It was Hasty who was catching balls out of the backfield before Mitchell went down. Actually, they both went down in that game with an injury, but I do trust a little bit. You know what? Brandon Ayuk is good. Like, he's just good, but they're just not finding a way to get him involved. They don't want to. They use 2 wide receiver sets so they can have Kyle Juszczyk on the field, and they run the football. So that's why I trust Mitchell a little bit, even if Hasty gets sprinkled in, catching balls at the backfield. Wilson comes back in a week and gets all kinds of red zone rushing attempts. Like, all that stuff is very possible, but at least Hasty is getting – I feel like every time he's been active, Jake, he's gotten 15 carries on the ground. So that's pretty productive. But, this Niners organization – I think they're a lot smarter than they think they are. Like, well, they're not smart. I think they think that they're smart, but they're not, right? You draft Sermon in the 3rd. You draft Mitchell later. You don't find a way to get Sermon involved. You draft Ayuk. What was Ayuk, a first-round pick for them last year? They can't find a way to get him involved, and now what's going to happen? Are they going to make the – I guess not. Are they going to make the switch now with Trey Lance? Because, he's clearly not the answer, but – the season almost feels like it's lost now. You got Arizona 7-0. The Rams are rolling, and you're not making the playoffs. Like, San Fran's not making the playoffs, so you might as well just make the switch.
What is their record right now? 2-4.
There's no chance.
Yeah. No, well, they got Chicago this week. That's why I said I don't know if you can go 3-4 and then Arizona.
There's too many good teams in the NFC. There's too many good teams, man.
I know, but I'm just saying at Chicago and then versus Arizona at home, I kind of feel like versus Arizona at home feels like the breaking point. Like, I feel like if you win in Chicago, you're 3-4. If you can knock off Arizona and get to 4-4 and you get the division win, then if not, I mean, your answer's there. Like, I'm just looking at it as that. That's the answer right there is week 9. And I could be wrong. I mean, it could be Lance this week, but I think that's what you just said is one of the reasons I didn't think Lance would start this year, if not like kind of a Mahomes situation, is because they were having playoff aspirations and this team was talented enough to be in that mix. But a lot of things have gone wrong with this team. I just don't know if they're ready to give it up yet, but maybe they are. I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, hopefully we'll find out from Shanahan before we get to Sunday, but who knows? It's Shanahan.
I guess so.
Wonderful. Very good. I guess so. So Kansas City, Tennessee. We know Mahomes' most miserable day we've probably ever seen from Mahomes. But the entire Chiefs offense just buying low across the board. Like, even Daryl Williams, like, just buying low on everybody you possibly can there.
Yeah, I would. They need to flip a switch now. Like, it's go time for them to flip that switch because the Raiders are all of a sudden atop the division.
I was gonna say, about a team that's not a playoff team right now. All right, well then, how good do you feel about Julio playing through an injury?
I don't feel good about Julio.
You don't?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't feel good about Julio. Like, if you could flip him after that game, I don't know. Like, he's not 100%. He's not going to be 100% all year. He's going to battle through this. Vrabel's, sat him out multiple times. Like, even the week before in that game against Buffalo, I know he aggravated something, but he was right next to Vrabel the whole time with his helmet on. It looked like he could play through that if he wanted to. They were up in the game, so if that was a competitive game, maybe he was getting more. Maybe he would be getting more run. But I'm not feeling Julio at all, man. I just. I don't know what's going on.
I was going to say, I watched a hell of a lot of that game, and it felt like he had more than he had. Like, it felt that he had more than 2 to 38.
There was a nice play where it was called back on a hold, where it was or an interference, like as a chip play, I think. Yeah. But yeah, he would have gained like 30 some odd yards. He made a nice cut and he ran up the sidelines. He looked good on that play. I don't know if you want to buy, it's super low, but yeah, I agree with you. The Chiefs, like, buy everybody on Kansas City. I mean, the defense is going to continue to be trash the rest of the year.
Well, then how about, I'm assuming, are you trying to buy low on Aaron Jones right now, or what concern level do you have? What's going on over there?
Yeah, I expected a better game from Aaron Jones. I gave out a bad prop, the total 90 yards rushing and receiving. He had topped that in 4 or 5 straight games. He did nothing yesterday. I'd buy. Like, it's an opportunity to buy like a running back. I mean, the landscape of the running back position is so brutal. Like, I would knock on the door of the owner and say, listen, yeah, for sure, I'd go and do this. But I was thinking about it too. Like, I'm a James Robinson owner. Like, should I go and acquire Aaron Jones? Like, could I get Aaron Jones for James Robinson?
I think you could.
Maybe I just hold James Robinson. Maybe just hold him. Like, AJ Dillon's getting touches. Rodgers is slinging it. I don't know.
Did you see
I feel
PFF
like
put that out yesterday? One of the top 3 running back grades since beginning of last year.
Robinson?
James Robinson, yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's great. That's why I maybe to just hold that guy.
And took everything for Urban Meyer to, not use
everything. Everything. Yeah, and it wasn't even his choice. I think it all happened on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago when they played the Bengals, and he was a surprise inactive, and it wasn't because Urban Meyer made him inactive. It's because he was dealing with a shoulder injury.
All right, so 3 more games, 3 minutes each. Hawkinson, are we officially back to okay with Hawkinson, or how do you feel about that after what's been going on so far this season? You just think it's going to be a roller coaster, or is he back?
Yeah, it's probably a roller coaster, but good spot this week against the Eagles, right? They couldn't cover Foster Monroe. So, yeah, I mean, Hawkinson's going to have his up and downs. Teams are going to focus in on trying to stop him and Swift, but at the tight end position, I know it's the first time I didn't have him ranked as a top 5 tight end. I probably won't. But he's kind of
see if is it time that just not only because of bye weeks? I mean, is Khalif Raymond a thing that we should stop ignoring?
Yeah, he might be. Tino knows Khalif Raymond. We gave a couple props on the Mean Streets show, and we didn't feel good about it. A couple weeks ago, it was over 2.5 at plus money, and then I wrote him the next week, and he put up a 0. But it's been back-to-back weeks where he's had, I think he's led the way in targets. I think yesterday was, what was yesterday? I would suppose that even though Ramsey had a pick, he was in the slot, and I think he was on Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, for the majority of the game, and Goff was probably just too scared to throw his way. But Khalif Raymond does seem like he's the number 1 wide receiver, at least on this team. Against the Eagles, 2 teams on bye, flex.
Why not? We'll put it this way. Would you rather pick up Khalif Raymond or Van Jefferson?
Oh, man, I really like Van Jefferson.
But say it.
Right. There's just, what's the best case? Yeah, that's best case. Third. I really like Jefferson as a player, but somebody needs to go down in that offense, and I hope nothing happens, but somebody would need to go down to feel good about rolling him out. He's always on my wide receiver rankings list on Mean Streets. He's always there.
And we're buying low on Henderson, too. Daryl Henderson?
Yeah, good.
Would you rather buy low on Daryl Henderson or Aaron Jones? I'd actually rather Daryl Henderson.
Me too. You look at the schedule, it's pretty nice. What do they got going on? Houston this week, Tennessee, San Fran, then out of the bye, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Arizona, Seattle. Like, it's a pretty money schedule. It was just one of those games I don't think he was all that efficient.
All right, so let's talk about your Eagles. And let's talk about... No. All right, well, then let's talk about Las Vegas, who's going on a bye.
Yeah.
Real quick, because you're on a bye, if Drake hasn't been picked back up because he got dropped in so many leagues, and deservedly so, because before the coaching change, he wasn't even getting involved. Peyton Barber was, and he wasn't even getting involved when they were down and behind. But Jacobs again leaves, and for the past 2 weeks, Drake has been involved a little bit more. Granted, it was like how many like 6 touches and 2 touchdowns, and then he got a touchdown on like a few touches again. But he's back for. Drake he's a must add, right? Just in the case that they come back from the bye and Jacobs isn't out there. Like, even if you have to sit on a bye week player, you can't have him out there, right?
Yeah, I agree. He's one of those guys again who was on the most dropped, and all of a sudden, most picked up. That's why I pause when I talk about Mike Davis. Is that you just don't know. It's next man up. It's a committee, but what Drake can do. He said before the game he's starting to feel a bit more comfortable in this offense. And Josh Jacobs, he's a tough dude. He plays through a lot, but he's dealt with this chest thing for a bit. I don't think this is something that was just new for him. So the bye is nice, but yeah, Drake should be rostered. Maybe even in deeper leagues, Peyton Barber should be spec ad too. But I like the fact that it was just Drake, 14 carries. He can catch balls out of the backfield. And this Las Vegas offense, man, is pretty good. They've scored 30 points in 4 games of this season, and I mean, they were really efficient yesterday.
Yeah. All right. So Miles Sanders might be missing time. Boston Scott or Kenneth Gainwell for you, because Boston Scott was, as much as Boston Scott was the lead runner, quote, goal line runner, which is just so weird to say Boston Scott in that role, but that's what he was, and Kenneth Gainwell just kind of kept his role.
Yeah, Boston Scott's first carries yesterday. To me, it seemed like, and I think they're right in this situation, is that Boston Scott, they can trust him more to pass block. And that's just it. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell has missed multiple assignments. That's why Miles Sanders, like people want Gainwell, even with Sanders not getting a ton of carries over the past few weeks, he's been in there because he's a good pass blocker. He's really good at picking up blitzes. So they're going to miss that. And I think they just go with the veteran in Boston Scott. But I'd lean Gainwell because I think he's got a higher ceiling. He's going to catch more passes. I think he's got a bit of a, like I said, I think he's got more upside. That's the way I go, but it's not, I mean, it's not a good situation. I mean, it could be just a full-on split between both of these guys, but I do lean Gainwell.
Dallas Goddard or TJ Hawkinson the rest of the way?
I'm going to go with Goddard.
Really?
Go with Goddard. Yeah, go with Goddard. I mean, they're going to be pass happy. What, they're going to start to run the football now because they don't have Miles Sanders? Like, there's no chance.
No, I brought it up because I think it's a conversation to have. So
yeah,
let's go to his former teammate. That this is part of the reason that Dallas Goddard is free as we close this out. Zach Ertz kind of feels like a sell to me because, again, he just replaced Max Williams. He was still fourth in opportunity and routes run behind the three wide receivers in front of Rondell Moore, in case you were still holding on to Rondell Moore for hope there. But still being fourth on a team that runs a lot of 3 and 4 wide, I think, Ertz, great opportunity, and it'll be fun. But if he's your second tight end, and that's why I say it, obviously, a lot of people are desperate for tight end right now, but if somebody's going to give you tight end one value for Ertz, I get away from it.
Yeah, I agree totally. The fact that he scored that touchdown, I thought immediately, like, now's the opportunity to sell. It's going to happen with Kyler, right? It's just going to happen. We've seen it with all these guys. One day it's Kirk and then Green, and Hopkins been pretty consistent lately. But yeah, that's the time to sell because there's just so many bodies there.
I was going to ask a Houston question, but we'll save it tomorrow because Chris actually gets to do the waiver show, and that's when we talk the worry report. And there's some waiver questions out there. So I'll leave it on this one. Last question, Chris. This is going back to Thursday Night Football. If you haven't yet, are you dropping Odell Beckham?
Oh my goodness. He's right there in the Allen Robinson whole thing, right? Like, what do? You hang on to this big name and he screws you. You have this big name player. In fact, I talked about that 16-team dynasty league with Allen Robinson. I have Odell Beckham Jr. on that squad too. Like, you can tell
terrible team.
How great I'm doing. I know, and I have Eckler and Kamara. Like, it's a good squad. It went to the finals last year and it's dead last this season. You don't drop them. You don't drop them, but I'm sure there's somebody in your league that likes him. Could you package him and a couple other players just to get him off your roster?
At this point, I don't think anybody even wants to trade for even the name value is not even there anymore. And I think the fact that Jarvis Landry is back is like this. As soon as Jarvis Landry came back, he's the only wide receiver you've ever been able to trust with the Cleveland Browns. And now, I mean, Odell Beckham, put it this way, I'd have a tough time deciding who. I honestly think I would keep Darnell Mooney over Allen Robinson and Odell Beckham at this point, just because at least it's something I said last week. If you're going to give me 5 targets for these 3 wide receivers, who's going to have the biggest air yards? It's Mooney with Fields just flinging it downfield. Not that Beckham won't have some, but you get the point. Like, just between the 3 of them, like, there's at least some roll the dice, boom or bust. Maybe I get 3 for 70 with Mooney. What do you get with Odell Beckham, Allen Robinson? 3 for 40? Maybe?
Yeah, and he's not healthy either. Like, that's a big thing as well. Like, he's not healthy. Is he going to have to deal with that shoulder injury? Yeah, it seemed like every play where he was trying to catch a ball and he landed on the shoulder, he was in a lot of pain. And they want to run the football there. I don't think Case Keenum's an awful quarterback. Honestly, like, it's not a shot at Baker. I don't think that there's that big of a difference between the two and what they want to do on offense. He's good enough to manage the game and have them win football games. They just won missing like a lot of their players. Like, Beckham and Allen Robinson, huge busts this year.
So we'll be back tomorrow. If you want to stick around again, it's not like earth-shattering news into my life or anything like that. I just wanted to give a message to everybody. So, like, if you don't want to stick around, I don't even really care. I actually just think the tweet caused more concern than there needed to be, honestly. But anyway, point being, follow Chris at Chris Meaney at FTN. 20% off if you use code ALLIN. First free month at The Athletic if you go to theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals. And again, we'll be back tomorrow. Chris is filling in for Lauren as she's getting drunk in Nashville, 11 a.m. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll pause, and then, yeah.
All right. Peace.
So, Anyway, if you're still around, just real quick, I mean, Chris, you can just sit here or whatever. So it's just, I sent out the tweet and I didn't initially expect it to come back as it did, with people worried about my health and everything like that. It is not my health. It's not any health in my family. It's just nothing really else to say for everybody. That honestly, I wanted to take this time to say thank you, because I saw every single tweet. I saw every single comment. I saw the people who texted me, and I texted them back. I didn't respond to every single tweet just because I'm not in the mood to tweet. But I saw all of them, and friends or just followers or anybody. I do appreciate every single person that reached out. I mean, honestly, it's just, life sometimes just kicks you in the stomach and does it multiple times. And then also, while he's there, rips your heart a little bit. So it's just what it comes down to. It's just one of those things. We've all been there. I know everybody, and I know that's why you all reached out, and that's why, is because we've all been there and we all get through it, and I will get through it. It's just taking some time, and it's something that I just got blindsided by. I wasn't prepared for it, and that's really why it hit me harder than I expected. Is just sometimes these things happen. So I just wanted to say that to say I will be fine. I'm getting through more day by day, and everybody reaching out, it did help a lot. So I'm here. If you guys want to reach out, but I'm here for you guys too. I've seen, like Alex said, he was just going through COVID, and I've seen some people say, tough stuff on life. And there was a guy who just had surgery that I did see his tweet about, and a good friend in the industry texted me about something that he went through that was worse than mine. So not to compare, but to say again, and I'm sorry, I'm taking time just to whatever, but it was more about the fact that I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and it is helping for what bit it can, and I will get through it, and working will help. But that's why I want to do my work, because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So hopefully 90% of me is better than 0%. And I do appreciate you guys. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'll have a mask on tomorrow for Halloween. So maybe that'll help mask it a little bit too. And of course, love Chris. So, I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow.